Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's 3PL Summit. I am here with Brent Hutto, who is a Chief Relationship Officer of Truck Stop. I hope I didn't butcher your last name, but welcome. I'm excited to talk to you today. You've got a lot of information that we want to get to.
Yeah, we certainly do. So thanks for having us on, Brielle. Really appreciate it. And man, you get the big reward. You got my name exactly right. It's kind of like it's Hutto, but most people say Hutto. So you were right on the money. So thank you so much. That's a big compliment to me.
Well, here where I live in my part of Jersey, we don't say T's. You just it's
That's
Trent. Right. So I'm used to that.
Yeah, man. Well, I spent a lot of time in Jersey, love Jersey, and Jersey's a beautiful place. Most people don't know Jersey's a beautiful place. It's actually a beautiful place. So really enjoy it. And just appreciate you guys having us on. We're happy to be a part of what FreightWaves does and appreciate the unbelievable information and opinions and things that you guys bring to the marketplace with your media and the Sonar side of the business. You guys have really revolutionized the communication when it comes to moving freight in the United States. I've been around about 25 years in this industry, and I've never seen anybody that communicates as well about freight as you guys did.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. FreightWaves is so much fun for me, and we like all the information that you bring to the table too. So let's just jump right into it. What are the overall spot market conditions for freight?
Yeah, no, sometimes I think we got to get a better name for this marketplace than spot. Well, first off, in my 10 years of tracking logistics, I just see more and more of both markets, the contract marketplace, which is the contract and dedicated marketplace, and the spot marketplace becoming just one market. And I say that because all freight's connected. No matter where you are, if you're a 3PL player, most 3PLs in the United States now, they don't just handle like spot market or hard to move freight. They have some contract customers, they have some dedicated customers, and they have spot market customers. But the spot market, the reason people look at the spot market, Brielle, is because it changes the most dynamically. I mean, it changes every day. What you want to ship on Monday is not the same price if you had to hold on to it and you had to ship it Friday of that week. And that dynamic change gets us a lot of great information, and it's the most fresh information on freight in the world. And so, and because Truckstop is a marketplace player, we get to see this data. And so, what happened? What's going on presently is the marketplace has adjusted all the way back down from a historic pandemic high. And I know a lot of people probably heard this. I know the marketplace was big in 2021 and 2022. Well, it wasn't just big; it was historically big. We've never had a larger market in moving freight ever in the history of trucking since deregulation in 1980. And so, what's happened is starting in October of 2022, the marketplace began to pivot back down to normal, and it took a long time to get there because this marketplace expansion during the pandemic was not short; it was over 2 years. So if it takes 2 years to get through a market, it's going to take a long time to get out of a market. In other words, for it to come all the way back down to normal and then it to hit its economic bottom and then adjust to its economic bottom before it starts coming back out. Well, where we are today is we're in just a normally adjusted economic bottom of the marketplace. And I don't mean bottom like it's terrible and nobody's making profit, because certainly there is. And we see this data all over the place. But the marketplace has just adjusted down normal, and we're just likely going to stay here for another few quarters before it adjusts back out. And that's the hard thing, because everyone was used to a very plus market during the pandemic.
Yeah, I remember that.
Everybody does, yeah.
Right. What are some recent broker condition research that there is from Truck Stop?
I appreciate you asking about that. We try to do research on the market all the time. And we just published some research on the brokerage marketplace yesterday. We had a couple thousand brokers respond back to us. Truckstop does business with about 99% of the active brokers in the marketplace. And so to see this data is very representative of the overall market. One of the interesting things for all the brokers out there on this fireside chat is that this is on carriers, is carriers are using the book it now, so the automated process, the non sort of negotiation process, more than ever. It went up over 5% from one year to the next. So that part of the marketplace continues to grow. So if you're a broker out there and you don't have the opportunity to negotiate automatically with the customer through it's like a book it now process, you need to really be looking at that. But some of the unique things is that this marketplace continues to expand like crazy. So and that's a super important thing. The average median of employees of brokers in this marketplace is now 30. Now that's big when you consider this is a small marketplace as far as like small customer dominated marketplace. The average median employees being 30 is really, really remarkable. So it just shows you that the market has continued to grow. It's no surprise that truckload is still the dominant freight that's moved in the marketplace by a dominant share, 72%. But less than truckload and partial truckload has increased quite a bit, especially past the post-pandemic. So that's really cool in the marketplace. Another thing is that how fast freight is getting covered. In 2022, which was obviously a more difficult market for brokers to find carriers, about 49% of the freight was covered in an hour. Well, in 2023, where there's now more carriers than there is freight in the marketplace, it's gone up by 5%. So about 55% gets covered in an hour less, which is super fast and much better for a broker's margins. So I'm kind of looking down at this data because, like I said, it's really live. It should be no surprise to anyone that still the biggest obstacles for brokers today is still working with carriers. It's the communication with carriers. And when you consider the issues that we've had with fraud since October of 2022, it's certainly the communication is still the number one thing. And negotiating a fair rate is number two. What's interesting is only 6% of the brokers polled that responded to the research said that capacity was a challenge for them. So it's definitely flip-flop from the pandemic, where it was so difficult to find a truck at the rates you wanted. If you're willing to pay enough, it wasn't. The other issues that dominated brokers is no surprise. Anything related to fraud, anything goes on in fraud, double brokering, carrier fraud, credibility of the drivers that are out there, even the broker-shipper relationship. Because obviously, if you've got any problem with moving someone else's freight as a broker, you're going to have issues with the shipper, the main customer. That's still of the high in the top four. Brokers are still. This is something that's amazing. Brokers are still have insatiable appetites when it comes to adding efficiency tools for them to increase their workflow moving through. So many brokers have added not just one, but 2 or 3 additional technology products to their base products, like a truck stop or someone else that would be a freight marketplace. So we continue to see that tremendously inside of the marketplace. And let's see, brokers on pricing. This was really, really interesting in the market on how they price loads. That the average margin actually went up 1% from 2022 to 2023. So this came out we finished this at the end of 2023, actually went up 1% to 17%. And this is another thing where historically brokers would not put like a rate in there. Almost 70% of brokers are now putting rates in their spot market loads that they put out there because they want to get a faster negotiation process. And that the brokers said that 51% of them are paying carriers less than they did in 2022, which is not surprising when you've got an oversupply of carriers. And I'll finish out on this was interesting on the intentions to use the overall marketplace. 90+% still plan to use load boards out there. And what was interesting to me was they're going to subscribe to multiple. They're out there, which is pretty normal because the marketplace continues to expand for brokers out there. But what was interesting to me was 7% said they didn't know. So I'm always curious about how different people respond. But that's just kind of some of the broker research that we at Truckstop see over and over and over again in the overall market.
What do you think the condition of capacity? What are the conditions of capacity?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you asking that. Capacity, certainly without a truck, freight doesn't go anywhere. So capacity was obviously grew tremendously during the pandemic, and we became somewhat oversupplied in capacity because the market has returned to normal. When you've got 200% more freight or 300% more freight in the marketplace, and you only add 10 or 20,000 new available for hire trucking companies, then the truckers still have the advantage. Well, when the freight comes back down to normal, and you've got an oversupply of trucks out there, it becomes a problem where the rates will continue to drop. Capacity is there's still more capacity in the marketplace than say in 2020 when before the pandemic started. So what we have is an oversupply, and it's still going to take a while. There's been a pretty big exit in the marketplace. I know that Landstar communicated publicly they had about 15% of their owner operator type carrier companies that have exited their business. And the marketplace overall has seen about the same thing about exit, but because we had a massive increase, almost 100% increase of the number of carriers in the full truckload in the spot market, we still have not had the exit of the numbers that came in that have not exited. So capacity is still oversupplied. It's going to stay oversupplied for a while. So the rates are liable to stay lower in the marketplace. So that's the story with capacity right now.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Huh. What do you think some of the challenges with long haul, one way, full truckload freight is?
Well,
I know there's so many.
There are so many, but I've never heard this statement before. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and I heard one of the major players in the market say that one-way long-haul freight, and I mean a major player, one-way long-haul freight, which is contract freight, right? That's the dominant part of the marketplace. The full truckload's about 800 million movements. It's a lot of movement. So the contract side of that is 80% of it. So so one-way long-haul freight, this leader said it had been commoditized for their contract trucks to haul it. In other words, they're not making enough margin on the contract end. And so I had to ask the question. I said, can you give me a little bit more information about this? I said, how much of this commoditization of the contract freight was due to the expansion of brokers over the last 15 to 20 years? And the person said 100% of it. He said, it's because the brokers have expanded. It's not just 50 or 100 carriers that can access this contract freight or the overall marketplace. It's 100,000. And so when you have competition, it drives the rates down. Now that's the way the spot market works. But on the contract end, it doesn't necessarily work that way, because you have a lot of trucks that you can give capacity to a shipper on. But because there's so much competition among brokers who move, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, they move contract freight, they move dedicated freight, they move spot market freight, they move intermodal freight, they move everything that they can. And it's expanded so much that it's commoditized the contract end. And so what it does is that it allows the broker marketplace to continue to expand and expand and expand, because brokers have access to more capacity today than ever. So it's a really unique thing. And this large fleet leader said, it's the reason. I said, how does this affect your business? He goes, well, it's the reason we now have $1 billion brokerage. So the marketplace, Brielle, is going to continue to expand. And it's going to expand through the brokerage industry. And so if there's one big takeaway in this, is be encouraged, brokers, because there's going to be more and more opportunity for you to grow your business, but you got to do it through efficiency and workflow.
Yeah. Wow. That is.
Yeah. I've never heard that.
Yeah, you're right. So we'll close this out with my last question.
Oh, bring it. Yeah.
This is a big one. When will things get better in the U.S. economy?
Well, I'll tell you, we are way past the trucking influence over the trucking economy. Okay, so in other words, we are down with all things that have worked its way out. Regulations are going to play a big role inside of trucking. They always do. The capacity tightening that we've had, the last 4 capacity tightenings we've had, were all regulations influenced. The pandemic was a regulation. It just wasn't on trucking. It was on all of a population and all around the globe. So the U.S. economy is what's going to be the thing that's going to change things for trucking. All right, we're all the way down to normal regulations are being the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. AB5 is could potentially change things depending on administrations and the way they want to look at things. But right now, the overall U.S. economy really never went through like a recession. There was a lot of predictions for recession, and our economist Noah Perry it does a lot of study on this, and we only have a 25% chance. We predict a 25% chance of a challenging market or a recessionary type market. So there's a 75% chance it's going to get better, but it won't be in the next quarter. Not likely going to be in the summer quarter. Likely going to be the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. And really, honestly, what that tells you is that there's not a tremendous amount of indicators that say exactly when things are going to change. We just know that as pricing becomes more difficult, you got to have a truck to get something somewhere. If you're a broker, you got to have a truck to get something somewhere. If you're the ultimate customer, the shipper, and the trucking companies can't operate at marginality with their profitability. And so the marketplace will naturally lift back, or you won't get trucks to move things. And so that should start happening in about fourth quarter this year. At least that's what a lot of the pundits are saying. We kind of see that in the data. Our partner FTR sees the same thing in the data. So that's kind of the outlook if you're a broker out there. I think it's just continue to find more efficient ways to be able to move freight efficiently. And then when the marketplace when the rates begin to move more northward, you'll end up with better profitability.
Well, that's all the questions I have for today, but What a whirlwind of information you have.
Well, that's truck style. We see the industry, right?
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you. That's all. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, Brielle, thank you. And thanks, FreightWaves, for all you're doing. All the 3PLs out there, really appreciate you being a customer of ours and running this industry. We love trucking at Truck Stop, and we love supporting this industry.
Awesome.